We will now review how to correctly input income information on your 2021 to 2022 FAFSA. You can follow these instructions to answer both student and parent income information. In order to complete the income section of the FAFSA, you will need to collect the following information for both student and parents if you're considered a dependent student: 2019 federal tax return, 2019 W-2 forms, total of untaxed income such as child support received, living allowances, veterans' non-education benefits and workers' compensation, and any other untaxed income you or your parents may have received in 2019. The name of the tax forms and schedules can be found in the upper left-hand corner of all IRS tax forms. For additional instructions, select the question mark to the right-hand side of each question. Be sure to pay close attention to whose income information is being requested, either student or parent if dependent. If you or your parents have already filed a tax return, you will then be prompted to enter the type of tax return that was filed. Most people have filed a 1040. If you plan to file a 2019 tax return but have not yet done so, or if you will not file a 2019 tax return because you did not work or you did not earn enough to be required to file, you will indicate that in this section. If you or your parents have filed a 2019 tax return, be sure to correctly input their tax filing status, which can be found on the top of page 1 of the 1040. Students and parents are highly encouraged to use the IRS data retrieval tool. If you filed a tax return and meet certain criteria, you may be able to use the IRS data retrieval tool to transfer income and tax information from your federal income tax return to the FAFSA by clicking Link to the IRS. An FSA ID is required to use the IRS data retrieval tool. If your parent does not have a Social Security number, they will not be able to attain an FSA ID, therefore, they will not be able to use the IRS data retrieval tool. To use the IRS data retrieval tool, after selecting Link to the IRS on the previous page, you will need to complete this page with the information exactly as it appears on the tax return. If the information does not match with what was reported on the tax return, you will not be able to link to the IRS. If you are granted access to Link to the IRS, you will need to check the box requesting the information to be transferred, then select Transfer Now. If you use the IRS data retrieval tool, this question will be pre-filled with transferred from the IRS, and you will not be able to view or enter this response. If you are unable to use the data retrieval tool, you will need to manually enter the income information now. Adjusted gross income can be found on line 8B of the tax return or 1040. If your parents are married or unmarried and living together and they filed a separate tax return, you will need to add together the amount from each return to complete this income section. Even though you have already reported the adjusted gross income, you will now need to report the amount each person earned from work. Income earned from work can be found by adding the following: Box 1 of W-2 form, plus the amount from Schedule 1, line 3 through 6, as well as Box 14, Code A of IRS Schedule K-1 form 1065. You should have received one W-2 form from each of the employers that you worked for in 2019. If you had more than one employer, you will need to add together the amount in Box 1 of each W-2 form. If you did not work, enter 0 for income earned from work. You will only have an amount on line 3 or line 6 of Schedule 1 if you were self-employed or had farm income or loss. Only in rare cases will individuals have a Schedule K-1. Schedule K-1 form 1065 is a tax form that a partnership would mail to the employee. The FAFSA uses skip logic to determine which income questions to ask on your FAFSA. Do not be alarmed if you are not prompted to answer some of the following questions. Even though you may have filed a Schedule 1, you will mark no to this question if the only reason you filed a Schedule 1 is to report the following: unemployment compensation, educator expenses, IRA deductions, student loan interest deductions, Alaska Permanent Fund dividends, or virtual currency. If you use the IRS data retrieval tool, this question will be pre-filled with transferred from the IRS. If you are asked if you or your parent are a dislocated worker, you can find the definition of a dislocated worker by clicking the question mark next to the question. If you or your parent lost a job due to COVID-19, indicate yes to this question. If anyone in the household size received any of the following benefits in 2019 or 2020, you will select the checkbox next to the type of benefit received. These benefits include Medicaid, also known as Medi-Cal in California, Supplemental Security Income, or SSI, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP, free or reduced price school lunch, Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, also known as TANF, or Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children, also known as WIC. If no one in the household receives any of these benefits, mark none of the above. To find the amount of income tax for 2019, enter the amount from Form 1040, line 14, minus Schedule 2, line 2. If either line is blank, treat that line as a 0. Remember, not everyone will have filed a Schedule 2. If you use the IRS data retrieval tool, most of these questions will be pre-filled for you. If you did not use the IRS data retrieval tool, you will need to determine the amount, if any, to enter for each question. You will do so by referencing the appropriate line on your tax return. If the instructions do not reference a specific line on the tax return, you will need to determine the amount earned for each question. Be sure to utilize the Help section by clicking on the appropriate question mark if you need additional assistance. When reporting child support paid in 2019, do not include child support paid for a child that is currently being included in the household size. Again, be sure to utilize the Help section if you need further guidance in answering questions. Here, you will report the amount of specific untaxed income received in 2019. These amounts will not be found on a tax return, so you will need to determine the appropriate amount to report for each question. When reporting amounts to tax-deferred pension, refer to your W-2 forms and only report the amounts found in boxes 12A through 12D for codes D, E, G, H, and S. Do not include the amount reported for code DD, which is the amount your employer contributed to your health benefits. Some students will be given the option to skip questions about student and/or parent assets. If given the option to skip or answer these questions, we recommend answering the questions. Be sure to report the asset value as of the day you complete the FAFSA. Other students may be asked if their assets exceed a certain amount. If your assets do not exceed that amount, you will not be required to report any further information regarding your assets. To determine the value of an asset, determine the current market value and subtract the debt owed for the specific asset. There are a variety of assets for which you must report a value. However, you will never report the value of the home you currently live in, or the value of retirement plans such as 401k plans, pension funds, annuities, or non-education IRAs. If you or your parents own a business, you do not have to report the value if your family owns and controls more than 50% of the business, and the business has 100 or fewer full-time or full-time equivalent employees. If you are a dependent student, you will go through the same questions regarding your income. Be sure not to include your parents' income again. In the following video, we will discuss the sign and submit portion of the FAFSA.